Hey, record loving friends, it's Brian from tokyorecordstyle. This is the 2026 Beatles Tag. I'm very happy to share my love for the Beatles. A lot of people out there in VC land love the Beatles. I am definitely one of them. I am rocking my 68 Beatles, maybe in Rishikesh, where they wrote parts of the White Album. Got my little Maharishi look going on. Forgive me for that. I actually have been to the Beatles ashram. I played Beatles songs on the top of the place. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. This was a great tag put forth by Mark Morris. Mark Morris, thank you. He even shouted me out in his own Beatles tag, and I appreciate him taking the initiative to take the torch up this year and to carry this tradition along. So with that, I have the questions here, and let's go for it. Number one, show and talk about your favorite Beatles acquisitions of 2025. It can be a record, a collector's item, a Beatles product. Okay, I am going with George Harrison, Brainwashed. I bought this on CD from the Beatles record store in Tokyo, which I'm failing to remember the name. I've never owned this on wax, and I've never owned it on CD, and I love the tune Marwa Blues. It's really the only track that I knew off the album. When I saw it at the Beatles store, it was the right price, and I like to have CDs, and CDs give me a chance to listen to music in the car, especially. We have a CD player in the car, and it was actually through this CD that I was reminded of a way of listening that I haven't really thought about in a long time, and that's the CD that stays in the deck for weeks, for months. I only knew, like I said, Marwa Blues, but by the time I had heard this album 20 times, after it had just gone back to the beginning of the disc, I got to know the tracking, I got to know the sequencing, I got to know the album's in and outs. I got really in the head of the album. Oddly enough, it's called Brainwashed. I don't know if I even mentioned it. It was released posthumously in 2002, maybe. Probably done by Danny Harrison, George and Olivia's son, and Jeff Lynne of ELO. They probably had the frameworks for most of the songs, and they probably polished it up and put it out. I don't know the whole backstory about it, but I love this record, and I'm a giant George Harrison fan. And this is a great way to head out of this universe, off of this plane. Any Road, Pieces of Me, Looking for My Life, Stuck Inside a Cloud, great album. And the Marwa Blues, I heard Paul once say that he really loved that slide guitar work off Marwa Blues. And when I picked it up, the guy who ran the Beatles shop gave me a really wonderful little postcard I want you to check out. How nice is that, with George at his estate? What's it called? Friar Grove or something? You'll know. What is it? You know what it is. I think this is where he is. He's in his big palatial mansion with all his collection of guitars, and I really, really like this. And it was just a little bonus that the record store guy gave to me for like chatting them up. Another couple of postcards that I got this year was, I got this wonderful, you guys will know this one. I have a feeling this one came out with like Let It Be, and I should know the story of this. Does it say? Oh, it's Tadanori Yoko. That's so cool. I completely forgot that. That's a Japanese artist, a really awesome psychedelic artist who I fell in love with actually through the process of doing Tokyo Record Style. I went into a very cool high design store, a vintage design store, and they had a bunch of posters by the artist Tadanori Yoko. Yoko is Yokoo, and he made all these psychedelic designs, and it's like super wild, super out there stuff. And his earliest stuff when he was quite young is a slightly different flavor from the psychedelic stuff that came out like in the 60s. I think he was even like psychedelic in the 50s. And anyway, this has a little bit of taste of that earliest stylings. It looks kind of Lord of the Rings-ish. It looks a little mythical. It's very, very groovy. I'm very happy. I completely forgot that it was Yoko's. Then just a couple other postcards, if you'll indulge me, since we're on the topic of postcards. These were given to me by my homie, Bemsha, Beatles 64 at the Budokan. There they are. The entire audience is in the stands. Nobody was allowed to sit on the ground. The Hinomaru Japanese flag here. It was a bit of a controversial performance. 4 nights in a row. Were they desecrating this shrine that's dedicated to sumo and connected to the Imperial Palace? And anyway, you've seen it. It's out there on video. Short sets, but really fun. The Beatles in Tokyo in 1964. Okay, on to number 2. Show an artist on the Apple label other than the Beatles or the solo Beatles, and when possible, show the label. I am going with Raga on the Apple label. This is the original soundtrack album for a movie that came out in the 70s, 72, 71. It was Apple's attempt to say, hey, let's make a movie about Ravi Shankar. And it basically just follows Ravi from his roots in Varanasi, also where I've been. He calls it Banaras. We call it Varanasi in the West. But it is India's city of culture right there on the Ganges River. It's the city where you come to die. And it has the burning ghats right there. there along the Ganges, and it's the holiest city in all of India, and it's where all the music comes from. And lucky me, just stumbled upon the place as I was traversing the subcontinent, and it happened to be Deepawali, which is a very high Hindu festival that's in the fall, in October at some point. The Festival of Lights, where all of the little paper lanterns are out on the Ganges River, and all the little canoes are out there, and they're placing these little candles in these little paper lanterns that float up into the sky when they're lifted by the hot air from the candle. Exquisitely beautiful. I mean, amazing, like a scene from a movie. And the sky has this sort of dirty orange color. This is really taking me back to those days, amazing times back when. And anyway, the film, it's kind of shot, on like big cinema cameras. It's got that like cinematic look, but they just follow Ravi from his roots, and he goes back to meet his guru. He talks about how playing music from a very, very young age. And inside the record, there's a really amazing book, and it features a picture of Ravi when he's so young. He's been playing sitar and learning Indian music his whole life. He talks about how his guru told him that he either had to commit to music completely or to abandon it altogether. And at the time, Ravi was a spoiled kid who was living in Paris, and he had lots of opportunities ahead of him, and he forewent it all to learn the sitar. And it goes back a little bit, the movie, and talks about the history of Indian music, and it was definitely introducing this kind of Indian music to a Western audience. And the documentary basically follows Ravi from Varanasi to San Francisco, where he's participating in concerts and basically tuning people on to Indian music. And he's tasked with this sort of existential question, which is, should I teach these Westerners about Indian music? Can they really know it without going through the process that I did, which was learning it completely? Or can they just touch it and get a sense of it? But I think he struggled with that. And but he had this student in George Harrison, of course, and I think he saw that as a chance, a compromise of sorts, to be able to share his passion for music with the rest of the world. So we owe Ravi Shankar almost, single-handedly for spreading this music around the world. Yeah, Bom Shiva Shankar, Ravi Shankar. On the Apple label, in the movie, it's really cool. I went back and watched it recently. I watched it back in the day. And when they're playing this kind of be-in, or he's getting an honorary doctorate from one of the San Francisco universities, the camera's panning. And there's Jerry Garcia in the audience. And he's sitting with Mountain Girl and I think Trixie, their first daughter, or maybe only daughter, I'm not sure. But there's the label. On the Apple label, Raga, original soundtrack. What are some of the names of the songs? Dawn to Dusk, Vedic Hymns, Guru Brahma, Vishnu House, and Ragadesh. Frenzy and Distortion as well. Okay, so this is a fun record. I enjoy listening to this, and I cherish the chance that I had to get to go to visit India and find and learn the roots of Ravi Shankar and the Beatles when they were in Rishikesh. On the road to Rishikesh, I was dreaming more or less, and the dream I had was true, and the dream I had was true. I'm just a child of nature. I don't need much to set me free. I'm just a child of nature, one of nature's chosen. Okay, number 3. Beatles lyrics. Show an album that has a song with lyrics which A, you particularly like, and B, that make you cringe. Well, for one, the one that I particularly like is The Inner Light, the B-side of Lady Madonna. This is my Japanese 7-inch picture sleeve. They're looking supremely groovy, and the lyric that I love is, without going out of my door, I can know all things on earth. Without looking out of my window, I could know the ways of heaven. But this is the one. The farther one travels, the less one knows. The less one really knows. The farther one travels, the less one knows. This is just, super, super profound lyrics. And I had a mentor, my own kind of guru, way back in the day, Manuel Lorenzo from Havana. He moved to Florida back in the day, and his father was like in cahoots with Castro, or actually they were frenemies, and he left during the revolution and had to flee. And actually Castro gave him like the chance he said, get out now. old friend. They were schoolmates. And Manny's dad was a very outspoken activist about the Cuban Revolution and all this stuff. And Manny was a hippie. His son just ran away with the circus. But he was privy to the struggles and political ideology that his father had, and it just informed his way of being. But Manny, the son, who's my senpai, my guru, my older sort of hippie guru, he had a Volkswagen bus, and he went to India and Greece and Europe, and he traveled all around the world in a Volkswagen bus, and he would talk about like, hey, you want to go to the walk-in and get small? Get small was his thing, and it was all about getting small and all about getting smaller and smaller. And the one thing that I know is that I don't know anything, and you just kind of keep that at the just keep that as your compass. And not so many words, but I just took to heart this idea that, I don't know anything about anything, and I'm here to be moved. And that's not to say that you're without conviction or without a spine. And but the more flexible you are, the more open you can be, and the more malleable and open you can be, the more you can appreciate. And so I'm guided by that and have been for my whole world. So I hear, without going out of my door, I can know all things. The further one travels, the less one knows. The more you learn, the less you really know. The more you realize how much out there is that you don't really know. But I think what George Harrison is really talking about here is, this name of the tune is The Inner Light. And you don't need to go out of your door without knowing all things on earth. Without looking out of my window, I can know everything. He says the further one travels away from your center. He's talking about looking inward, the inward light. So the further you travel away from yourself, the less you really know. So I think maybe it has two meanings. I don't even know what I'm saying, but there's lessons in there for me. And this is one of the reasons I'm like a giant George Harrison fan, because he just tapped into this stuff. And I don't pretend to know it, but I've read Be Here Now. I've read a few of these things, not really, but they've touched me. So The Inner Light, a lyric that really I love. Yeah. Without going out of my door, I can know all things. The further one travels, the less one knows. For a lyric that makes me cringe, I have to go to Lennon Legend, a CD that I had as a teenager. I'm sure I can find the song on my John Lennon records, but I know the song from here, and I remember the first time I hear it. The song is God. God is a concept by which we measure our pain. I'll say it again. But when he gets down to the part where I don't believe in Elvis, I don't believe in Zimmerman, he says, I don't believe in Beatles. I don't believe in Beatles. That broke my heart to hear that the first time. Devastated. I don't believe in Beatles. I just believe in me, Yoko and me. That's reality. The dream is over. What can I say? The dream is over yesterday. Oh, God. I was the dream weaver, but now I'm reborn. I was the walrus, but now I'm John. And so, dear friends, you'll just have to carry on. The dream is over. God, that's brutal, John. That is brutal. I get it. It had to be said. I let it wash over me. Let it be a catharsis for all of us. The Beatles are over. And it's not that this lyric, it's not that I don't like this lyric. It's just that it's like a knife through the heart. That's not it. It's just facing the reality that the Beatles were done. And maybe, who knows, but we never got that chance. And, what a poet. What a brave poet. What a thing to say. What a demon to face. So, God is a concept by which we measure our pain. I found it on Lennon Legend, which has 20 songs on it. I never really loved how a CD had so many songs on it. The song list got bloated. It isn't an album per se, but this one actually, was formative. I got to know all my John Lennon songs from this one, Lennon Legend. Number 4. Display a book you would recommend to other Beatles fans, up to 3. Okay, well, I'm going to start with Beatles lyrics. This is a fun one. This was like a Christmas present from my sister, and it has all the little notes that were written down in the little stories. I've got all kinds of bookmarks in here of almost like every Beatles song. Little child, da 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 da. And you can see the loose leaf paper, speaking of loose leaf paper, and the little sketches that were drawn. Let's see, this boy and the Mercy Beat, and I want to hold your hand. Good grief, there it is. That's crazy. Wow, cool. And yeah, so this is a little bit of, tells you about the songs, but also shows you. It's a visual exploration of all the songs and their lyrics, and you can see the handwriting, and it's really fun. It kind of feels like you're going to a museum show. And with little snippets from magazines and newspapers and a little bit of history interspersed with the lyrics and the songs and the stories behind the songs by Hunter Davies, The Beatles Lyrics, national bestseller. That's one. Next, I got to go with Beatles in England, Mazzy's book, David Bacon and Norman Maslow. This is the book that they did back in the 80s. They say it kicked off Beatles tourism or something like this. And I was very happy to pick this up in Japanese not that long ago. And I found a copy of it. It's really well done. And what's really fun about this book is it's filled with photographs, filled with great photographs. Mazzy being a photocentric kind of person, it's got lots of the stories behind the songs and the places that gets mentioned and just all the places that are part of Beatles history. And he and his buddy went around UK maybe over the course of a couple of trips. I'm not totally sure. And they went to swing in London and they went to Liverpool and they did all their stuff. And I had a nice live stream with Mazzy, and we went through this page by page, and he was very gracious to share a lot of his time, and he actually kind of translated the entire book for me, which was really fun. So yeah, the places they played in Hamburg and the Cavern Club and the Reeperbahn, maybe. What's this place called? There's Mungo Jerry on the bill and Tony Sheridan. Okay, so anyway, very cool book. The Beatles England. Good job, Mazzy, and I'm impressed that you had it printed in Japan too. Finally, for number 3, I'm going to go with my Beatles fake book. This is my music book that is so tattered and broken and I've had for so long. It's 200 songs for piano, vocal, guitar, all C instruments, okay? And it's just dog-eared and coffee stained, and it's got, hey, Mr. Postman, P.S. I love you, Revolution, and she said, it's got all the songs and the charts, and I just love to go through them and play them. So when I'm sitting here at my piano that's right behind me, I'll bust out my Beatles book, and I dare not lose the cover of this. And where was this originally bought? In Frisco, Colorado, at All Music Inc. Okay. I've got some notes here about lessons that I was having. I've got lessons on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Anyway, I love this, my Beatles fake book. The fake book. You got to have a fake book, right? And you got to have the Beatles fake book. It tells you, how to play the songs. It has little chord charts for the guitars and, the staff notation, which is a little bit hard for me to read. So I just kind of follow G, A, G. Should I talk about that now? I got another thing to say about this a little bit later. Okay, question number 5 is anthology controversy. Did you buy the 2025 box set in any formats? Discuss your decision. I did not buy. Not only did I not buy, I haven't even watched the new episodes. I haven't watched the new releases. I don't even know what there is out there. It's on Disney and I just haven't done it yet. I don't know. I think the Get Back kind of filled me up. I want to go see it, but I just haven't got around to it. I hope that doesn't disqualify me as a diehard Beatles fan, but yeah, it just kind of wasn't on my list. I don't own the first 3 anthologies on wax. I used to have them on CD. They're long gone. I listened to them a bunch, but not, once I had a year with them, I didn't need to kind of revisit them. So it wasn't high on my priority list to get those, and they were expensive. But I'm substituting that question with one from Mark Morris's 5 bonus questions. Thanks, Mark, for giving us some bonus questions to substitute here. Do you have any Beatles EPs? If so, show 1 or 2 of them. Okay, well, I've got these kind of fun 33 RPM Beatles EPs from Japan on the Odeon label. And they're fun. There's 4 songs on each side, each disc. What constitutes as an EP anymore? I'm not really sure. EP is extended play, right? We don't, the idea of an EP has never quite sat right with me. I don't know exactly the delineation, right? It's a mini record, basically. It's songs off the albums. It's a couple of singles put together. Somebody give me a definitive answer exactly what an EP is. Is it at 45 RPM? Is it 33 RPM? I don't know. It's a mini record. So I kind of consider these to be not gratuitous, but they're like kitsch. They're extra. They're not canon, I feel like. That's my take, except for Magical Mystery Tour. That would be a canon issue EP. Yeah, almost an album. It's what? 8 songs on 2 7-inches that was released both as a 12-inch record, but I think originally only the 7-inch. And this one again is on the Odeon label. I don't have the Obi. I think there was once an Obi for it. But it has, of course, the little book inside and the story, and also it has, oh God, these guys were, what a riot. I have the, oh God, I got to pull something up. I'm going to link to a video down in the comments that was inspired by this. Let's see. But mine is kind of cool because it has also the Japanese lyrics and the Japanese stories. So that's kind of cool. As what I would consider like real EPs, we've got a few of these red and blue ones. They just have songs that would be on the red album, I would say, the red compilation. You know, the earlier songs, Michelle, All My Lovin', Rock and Roll Music, 8 Days a Week, Mr. Moonlight, those kinds of songs. And then I have, is Hard Day's Night an EP? Does that count as an EP? Is that a soundtrack? What's going on with Hard Day's Night? And then I have the Beatles hits. That's got to be an EP. Come on, that's got to be one. That's 4 or 5 songs. From Me to You, Thank You Girl, Please Please Me, Love Me Do. Okay, so there's my EPs. I showed a few, but there's my EP collection. Okay, next question. I really like this question. It says, name a solo Beatles song that you would like to get the full Beatles treatment, all 4 Beatles working together to build up the song. Show the album on which this song is featured. Okay, well, I'm not going to show the albums, but I'm going to show my 7-inches. I'm going to keep, I wanted kind of to do it all 7-inches, but I'm going to do Instant Karma. Instant Karma is going to get you. That seems like a song that could have been on the White Album, perhaps, or could have been on maybe something later, but probably the White Album would have been a perfect fit for Instant Karma. That's my Japanese pressing of Instant Karma. From Paul, I'm going to ask for the 007 soundtrack, Live and Let Die, dun, dun. It already almost is a Beatles song with that George Martin production, I'm guessing, I'm not even sure. But I would like to hear it in a sort of, helter-skelter sort of version. I feel like the Beatles would have done this tune justice, and it would be cool to have like the Beatles on a 007 record. Then this is a little bit of low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to choose When We Was Fab by George Harrison off of Cloud 9, I think it is. I have it on Cloud 9, but this is a fun one. And this one had the hilarious video where Ringo comes out on it and Jeff Lynne comes out on it. Back when we were fab, and it would be like, I don't know, it'd be like a great comeback tune, I feel like, for the Beatles. If the Beatles ever had the chance to come back and open a concert, I think like When We Was Fab would have been a great song to open with. Okay, maybe 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper would have been the perfect song, but I don't know, to open a set or close a set, When We Was Fab would have pulled on all the heartstrings. And so that's my pick from George. And from Ringo, I'm going with I Am the Greatest, which is just, I think, already almost a Beatles song. It might even be like practically a Beatles song on his, I think, first solo record after the Beatles broke up. I know everybody's all over this record, and this one is really, really cool because it's a solid album, a lot of players, but it has, of course, the lyrics and the photograph song on it. I Am the Greatest, that one is a fun one. I could hear that one on Yellow Submarine or on Sgt. Pepper's as well. It would have been perfect. It's a funny Ringo song, and it seems like it would fit in the Beatles repertoire easily. This has the Japanese booklet that gives you all the Japanese stuff. This is why Japanese know, like, what kind of sandwiches the Beatles like and what's their shoe size, because every record had one of these books, like 20-page books that explains all about the album, translates the lyrics, and explains more. But this one's really cool because it also has this beautiful book with these illustrated images, I think by Klaus Vormann. I Am the Greatest. I Am the Greatest is a John Lennon song? I'm just reading it right here. I Am the Greatest. That's why I wanted to hear it. The Beatles do it. I didn't realize it. That's okay. I'm learning. The lyrics right here, they might be blown out, but it says here, I Am the Greatest by John. And when I was a little boy, way back home in Liverpool, it's too good to be a Ringo song. That's why it's okay. Makes much more sense. Okay, but then these beautiful illustrations, pencil work and charcoal, and they're really moving. And even the lyrics, oh wow, they're all written. These are all written by the Beatles. This one's by George Harrison. Sunshine Life for Me, Richard Sherman. Okay, so really nice, beautiful artworks. And this is a fun one to revisit from time to time. Okay, I see Richard Starkey, Paul and Linda McCartney. Yeah, basically a Beatles record. So you guys will be like, he doesn't know. This one's by George Harrison and Mal Evans. Wow, very cool. Okay, so that one's a fun one. Ringo's self-titled first, I want to say first, but I have 2 copies of it, which is kind of fun. And my one copy has the original Japanese obi, but this was one that I was selling in a shop that I never ended up selling for 800 yen. It has my own Tokyo record style obi on it, which is kind of fun. Okay, I got to thank Rachel of Rachel's Ghost for that idea to select a song from each Beatles solo career that could get the Beatles treatment. So that was a great idea, Rachel, and forgive me for stealing it. Next question, number 7. If you have one, show a Beatles picture disc. Are you a fan of picture discs, yay or nay? If you don't have a picture disc, colored vinyl will work. Well, I don't have any Beatles picture discs. My Beatles collection is not bad, but it's not. It hasn't gone into picture disc territory. But I do have a copy of Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane on Japanese picture sleeve here. And again, on the Odeon label. And this one's cool because it is on red Odeon super vinyl, they call it. Oh, come on. There you go. Isn't that nice? Right? So I don't even want to call this red colored vinyl. This is like a formulation by the Toshiba company. They called it Super Wax, I think, or they called it, you guys will know better than me, but it was like pristine vinyl, and it, I don't know, it had better quality. And if you can find these Beatles records on the Japanese red Toshiba Super Wax, they're known for sounding really good. And I sent Mazzy a copy of this, and it's a funny little story because I bought a red one, and I said to the record shop owner, I have a red one and I have a black one, and I want to send one to a friend who's a big Beatles fan. Do you think they prefer the black one or they prefer the red one? He's like, you got to send the red one. If he's a giant Beatles fan, you got to send the red one. I said, that's good. Yeah, of course you do. So I sent Mazzy the red one. I was like, oh, I'll keep the black one. And then Mazzy was showing it on stream, and I pulled out my copy and I said, I sent you the red one. And then I pulled out mine and I said, oh my God, no, wait, I didn't send you the red one. I sent you the black one on accident. I meant to send you the red one. He said, no, mine's red too. And I said, really? And it turns out that my original one that I had was also red. So serendipity. And Strawberry Fields, he says that's one of his favorite songs, which is why I tracked it down for him. And yeah, very cool with George on the SG, the Gibson SG. How cool is that? Number 8. For some reason, you are condemned to listen to just one Beatles compilation album for the rest of your days. What would you choose? Show the compilation. I don't have any Beatles compilations. I got some bootlegs. I got some other kind of fun, weird stuff, but I don't have any. Oh, I do. I forgot. I was going to show Red and Blue. That's all I have. I just have those compilations, and they would have served me well. Which one would I have gone for? Probably Blue. But I just remembered I do have a Beatles compilation. I don't think it's a particularly great compilation, but there is a reason to love this one. And it is Love Songs by the Beatles. And I don't know, the song listing, Yesterday, Girl in My Life, something, Michelle. I don't know if I need a compilation of love songs, but this album has the best photo ever of the Beatles. Dun, da, da, da. By Avedon, this is just the coolest. I mean, Ringo has never looked better. Paul just looks so inquisitive, and I mean, I'm almost falling for him. George just so brimming with curiosity and innocence. And John just looking like a master, a genius. This is just like one of the absolute greatest pictures ever. It's a composite. It's not a single shot, I'm told, but Richard Avedon on the compilation Love Songs. I would keep it just for the photo. I'm a photographer, so I just love it for that reason. Okay, moving along. Number nine. Do you feel there's an underrated Beatles song? If so, show the album on which it appears and explain why you feel it's underrated. Well, I'm going to go with Rain, the B-side on Paperback Writer. Paperback Writer and Rain. And Rain, as I'm told, is not on any Beatles records. So that's the reason I'm saying it's underrated. I'm sure Rain gets its dues and it's played a lot, but the fact that it never found its place on a record kind of makes it a little bit of an outlier. And that is why it deserved an album. It definitely deserved an album, but it's cool that it's not on an album. And Rain is such a groovy song, and it's the first song, the lyrics, I have to kind of remember them, but they touch on whether or not we're like, the world is real, and it had a very psychedelic sort of premise. And of course, it has the first time that they played the tape backwards, and it's got a very sitar. It has that awesome psychedelic sound. And I think the story goes that they were in the studio, and John left with a copy of the tape from George, and he put it on his player, and it played backwards on accident. He put it on upside down and it sounded really good. And he went to the studio and they flipped it all around. It was one of those Beatle things where they just experimented and were willing to dare themselves to do things and push the envelope of what could be done, max out all the dials and turn the volumes all the way up to 11. And you got to admire the Beatles for always pushing. And that's my Japanese picture sleeve of Rain. When the rain comes. Okay, this is a funny one. Number 10, Beatles singles. Show a 45 with a cool picture sleeve or a picture sleeve from a country other than where you reside. No, I think Japan 7 inches with Japanese picture sleeves are going to be all the rage for anybody who doesn't live in Japan. But as somebody who lives in Japan, I actually don't have anything but Japanese 7 inches. I don't have any other picture sleeves from anywhere else in the world except for Now and Then, which, yes, is technically a Japanese release. It's in Japanese, but I'm certain this was not pressed in Japan. This is probably pressed in Czech or in Europe somewhere and sent over and given the Japanese, they put the sleeves in and everything. I can't imagine this was printed in Japan. But, okay, there was a lot of controversy over the cover here. I don't really want to speak to it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm neither here nor there about it. And I forget who it is. Somebody remind me. But this one, this is really cool. This should have been the cover. I don't understand really why this didn't become the cover because it's so great. And it's just a little bit of like lawn art. It's a little bit of garden art that Olivia Harrison tells the story of George finding it one day like at a flea market or something. And he just liked it. It just spoke to him. He didn't really know what he liked about it, but it was just an interesting little piece and he liked it. And he put it out in his garden. And it stayed there long after his death. And every time Olivia would water the garden, she'd see it and think of the day that he purchased it or whatever. And when she got the phone call from Paul and co. saying, hey, we want to do that song Now and Then, which was already written on here, she thought, oh my God, how bizarre is that? It's like, something from beyond. And she went and dug it out of the garden and cleaned it up and put it on the fireplace mantle or something like that. And it's just a cool, clock and a domino and some buttons. And I don't even know if you've ever taken a good look at it. There's a key on the top and, it's just like found art. I wonder what else is on there. There's a little picture of the Beatles down there. And some measuring tape rulers, 9-3, maybe a little mint tin can or something. Who knows? But Now and Then. That's my non-Japanese picture sleeve. Okay, I said I was going to mention this one more time. I'm going to bring this back up to answer question number 11, which is there a particular Beatles song or album that brings back a specific strong memory for you? If so, feel free to share. If not, relate a time when you first realized you were becoming a Beatles fan. Okay, so I'm not going to do a very good job of articulating this, but I'm going to try. I just picked out a random song. Here, Julia. And I see some chords right here. I see B minor, 6th, F sharp minor, add the 2nd, F sharp minor 6, F sharp minor, add D, F sharp minor, D, B minor 7th, A minor 7th. Okay, so that's kind of complicated. That seems like rather complicated. And the chart is here, the melody is here, but when I'm trying to put these chords together, I have to really think about what a sharp minor add the 2nd means. And I might have to go dig up a chord book and see if I can figure that out. But once I figure it out, I just realized it's just a micro variation from the one before it and a micro variation from the one in front of it. And what the Beatles have done is they've taken the root or the 3rd or the 5th and they've walked something down or they've walked something up and they've made this kind of very sophisticated. It's very simple, yet it sounds really elegant and sophisticated just by moving. The way they transport across the scale and across the notes is very elegant, and I know that they got a lot of that from Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, and I think that I find myself playing other people's songs, and I find this thing happening all the time. I'll be playing somebody else's song, and I'll say, oh, there's that thing that I can find in almost every Beatles song. And I just think that I can get inside the song. The question is, when you realize you were becoming a Beatles fan, when I can find Beatles songs in other songs, that's when I really realize, oh, I kind of know this stuff. And every once in a while, you'll just find they say D minor is the saddest of all chords. And sometimes you'll just hear you'll feel the emotion of a certain chord when it is in one position, and the context when it the way that a song, how the Beatles drove around the notes. It's so fun. It's so fun and playful and interesting. And I just love getting inside the songs. And I recommend, if you don't play any guitar or piano, maybe use the Beatles as an inspiration to pick up an instrument, because there's infinitely more appreciation to be had by really getting into the songs. Not just hearing them in your ears, but hearing them in your whole body and in your memory and in your fingers. Really, really fun. Okay, Mark Morris, thank you very much. That was a really, really fun Beatles Tag. I'm glad I participated. This is the second or third year I did it. I love it. I'm an unabashed Beatles fan. Yes, I'm the fifth generation of Beatles fans, whatever number I am, but I love the Beatles. They're timeless. They transcend generations. They transcend genres. I just think they're here to stay, and I'm really excited about turning my own kids onto the Beatles, and turning future generations onto Beatles. So I hope the Beatles Tag continues to be a priority in the vinyl community, and until next year, I will be waiting. I will be anxiously waiting for who will take up the mantle in years ahead. Count me upon the people who will participate. Okay, good luck to everybody else who's having a Beatles vinyl tag. I'll cheer you on if you send me a link. I'll watch your video from Tokyo. Bye.